Hello, this is Stanley Bloomfield, and welcome to the Bible Workshop. The Mimi is to represent the fact that there is now 41,000 standalone Christian churches around planet Earth this day. I believe it's physically impossible for 41,000 standalone Christian denominations to be right about the Bible. So, let's see what the Linux Workshop is all about. Introductions. I'm Stanley Bloomfield. I graduated from Ovid LC High. I served in the U.S. Air Force for 9 years. I've been driving trucks for the last 24 years. And I have always loved technology and science. I am also promoting Linux. Linux, and you can see what I'm doing there at www.thelinuxworkshop.com. All right, the goal of the Bible Workshop. My goal is to get you to want to study the Bible. I'm going to do this by showing you what's in the Bible. I believe what I'm going to present in this Bible Workshop is material that Christianity, Catholicism, and Protestant Christianity, Judaism and Messianic Judaism, what I'm presenting is stuff that these four groups do not want people to see, or they don't know this stuff is there. All right. My goal is to get you excited about studying the Bible. The goal is not to get you to study the Bible with the methods that I'm going to show you that I've used, but my goal is to hopefully impress upon you that you need to study the Bible so stuff like this will pop out at you and you can study it as you go. And my fourth goal is to prove there is not another book on earth like the Bible. It's that simple. I want to have open debates with Muslims. I want to have open debates with Catholics, Baptists, Pentecostals, Jews, and Messianic Jews. Alrighty. Now, this is the word God, which is Elohim. Elohim was translated God in the King James Version, and it's the third letter in the It's the third word in the King James Bible. In the beginning, God. It's the first letter, Aleph, the 12th letter, Lamed, the 5th letter, He, the 10th letter Yod, and the 13th letter Mem, Elohim. Now, what I've done in this graph or chart or whatever it is I took the numeric values of the alphabet for the word Elohim, and I put it in the fifth column on the left of this chart. And I put the first letter, the 12th letter, 5th, 10th, and 13th letter. And what I did was I went with the first letter and the 12th letter and added them together, and I went up and I came up with 13. I took the 12th letter and the 5th letter, added them, came up with 17. 13th letter and the 17th letter, added them up and came up with 30. When I went down, I took the first letter and the 12th letter and I subtracted 1 from 12, came up with 11. I took 5 from 12, came up with 7. I took 7 from 11 and came up with 4, and so on. Let's see what we got. All right. Starting at the 1, 12, 5, 10, and 13. One person, Yehoshua, it's Jesus, found 12 disciples, his apostles, and 13 men started a ministry when Yehoshua was 30, and 30 AD is when he died by my calculations. Yehoshua gave us 32 parables, and Josephus was born in 38 AD, and then I believe Rome gave the order to destroy Jerusalem in 62 AD, and in 70 AD, Rome actually destroyed Jerusalem. And 132 AD was the last Jewish uprising against Rome. Now, going down, 1 from 12, something happened to Judas, and the 12 disciples became 11. The 11 remaining apostles built 7 churches. Grace is the number 5. They built 7 churches by grace with the power of God, and that's 3. 4 of the churches had issues, and 2 of the churches were good to go. The Church of Smyrna and the Church of Philadelphia. And the Laodicean church was removed. So basically, what I see here is a prophecy contained in the Hebrew word Elohim. Now, another thing that I noticed was the first letter, 12th letter, 5th letter, 10th letter, and 13th letter using Hebrew numerology. I see another message. Basically, 12 is heavenly government. So heaven's government, the power of heaven's government, is grace, which is the divine influence on the heart. So heaven's government and power is by grace, and it reveals the rebellion of earthly governments. Earthly government is 10, and rebellion is 13. Dinah was the 13th child, and she was rebellious. Now, this is the hidden lineage messages. And basically you go to Genesis chapter 5 and you lay out in order the English definitions for the names in Adam's lineage. And I use the Strong's Concordance, and the word Adam, Adam, is from the Hebrew, from the Strong's Concordance. It's 121, which is the Hebrew word Adam, and it means Adam, the name of the first man, and it's a place in Palestine. It comes from the Hebrew word 120, and so Adam comes from 119, and 120 means ruddy, a human being, an individual, or the species, mankind. Now, 119 is Adam, and that's to show blood in the face, flush, or turn rosy. All right, the Hebrew word for Seth is 8352 in the Strongs, and it's Shaith, and it's from the Hebrew word sheath, which is 7896 in the Strong's Concordance. And Shaith means substituted. Sheth, the third son of Adam, and 7896, sheath, is to place in a very wide application. Now, Enos is the last name in my demonstration here of explaining what I did. Enosh, the same as 582. Enosh, a son of Seth. Now, Enosh comes from 582. Enosh. And that comes from 605, which is Onash. And Enosh means properly a mortal, and thus differing from the more dignified 120, which was the Adam, hence a man in general, singly or collectively. And the way I look at this is us. You know, we're not the superstars and all that, the king and queen, and not that they are the Adam either, but the Adam were somehow more than us general people. And the Enosh, 582 in the Strongs, comes from the Strong's number 605, which is Onash, and that is a primitive root to be frail, feeble, or figuratively melancholy. All right, now let's look at Adam's lineage. All right, the underlined sentences and statements are are from the definitions for each name, and the parts that are not underlined, I use that to fill in the gap, so to speak. And so, God's children, Adam's lineage, the appointed one, Genesis 5, 1 through 31. And here we go. A man is more than mortal. Prior to the first male's, Adam's, expulsion from the Garden of Eden, Adam was not bound by death. When Adam and Eve disobeyed the Lord God, all mankind became mortal, subject to death. When man is once again given access to the tree of life, man will once again be given access to immortality. Mankind's father, king, and prophet was Adam, the first male. When Adam dethroned himself, man became two races. The first race, mortals looking for the Messiah. Faith, they would become man once again, having access to the tree of life. These are followers of Joshua, or Jesus. And the second race is mortals. All there is the past, present, and future on earth. These are Satan's children, or earthly people. All right, most of that, the vast majority of what I just read, is filler. So now I'll go back and reread the the real part. A man is more than mortal. Adam was not bound by death. A substitute for the first male was appointed before the beginning. The substitute would be placed under death, but death would not control him. The appointed one is going to build a nest, a dwelling place or chamber, far above the predators, a safe dwelling place for himself and man, not the mortals, not the earthly. The appointed one will clearly speak and do things that will open the ears and eyes of man to heavenly things. He will praise God his Father while being the God of praise. The appointed one will descend down into his enemy's camp, realm, where his enemies will discipline him, initiating him onto his narrow path, proving his manhood, adult status, maturity. As the planted seed dies, a sprout comes forth. The appointed one will shoot forth as a thrown javelin. With strength, the appointed one and man will sit and rest. All right, that's the hidden message for Adam's lineage. Now, Cain's lineage, Satan's children, Cain's lineage, Genesis 4, 16 through 24. I'm only going to read the first paragraph, and you can find these studies of mine on my Facebook photo page. So go to Stanley Bloomfield on Facebook, look for the one in Lansing, Michigan, and in my photos section, a whole bunch of these studies of mine are there. All right, Satan's children love building and creating things. They especially love to obtain earthly things through buying and selling. They can never quite own enough. When the earthly are confronted with trials, tests, and tribulations, their emotions govern their actions. Their logic is abandoned. In confrontations and arguments, the earthly strike out with words, fists, and even weapons. They love to hear their foes, enemies in their minds, cry out in distress, frustration, and pain. This is music to their ears. All right, like I said, go to my Facebook page, and you can find it there and read it. And it's much bigger on my Facebook page. This print is kind of small. All right, the next thing that I did was each Hebrew letter has meanings. Now, this is not the Hebrew text that the Torah and the Old Testament is written in. This is most likely closer to the Hebrew text script that Moses wrote. But this is the ox head, which is the Aleph, and it means ox, strength, leader. So every letter of the Hebrew alphabet has a separate, distinct meaning as well. And what I did was I went letter by letter for Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 and 2, and I laid out the definition for each letter in order, and I found another hidden message. Again, I'm only going to read part of this because it's so long, and I'll stop right here at my mistake. I'll read down to that paragraph there. All right, the hidden Aleph Bet messages. All right, when surrounded by chaos, you don't have to rule sin. From the beginning, God has appointed a guardian for the sky and earth, but the appointed ones are murdered by their brothers because of jealousy, just as the sky and earth is ready for their stewardship. Then the murderers leave the presence of the Lord. Remember, when surrounded by chaos and darkness, you don't have to rule sin. From the very beginning, and with each new beginning, the earth's capital, which changes, is given to an appointed one contingent upon him passing his test. Civilization, the sky and earth, is ready for the appointed one, but he needs a wife because loneliness incapacitates us. Then his resolve to obey God will be tested further. Now, I suggest you go on my Facebook page and find this also. This is really fascinating. And let's go on to our next. The equidistance sequencing. This one is Yehoshua, and it's contained in Numbers 27, verse 17. All right. Yehoshua, Deuteronomy 3:21, and I commanded Joshua at this time, saying, Thine eyes have seen all that the Lord your God hath done unto these two kings. So shall the Lord do unto the kingdoms, whither thou goest. Now, this right here is the full form of Yehoshua. And every seventh letter, starting with the red yod, you go 7 letters, and then you got yod, you got your hey, you go 7 letters, you got your vav, you got your sheen, you got your vav, and your ayin, I believe it is. And now, Numbers 27, 16 through 18, I went to the verse above and below, verse 17. Let the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, set a man over the congregation, which may go out before them, and which may go in before them, and which may lead them out, and which may bring them in, that the congregation of the Lord be not sheep which have no shepherd. And the Lord said unto Moses, Take thee Joshua the son of Nun, a man in whom is the Spirit, and lay thine hands upon him. Now, all I got here is, what is that man's name that will be placed over the congregation? What is his name? It's Yehoshua. It's Jesus. And that is encrypted into Numbers 27:17. The next one is Genesis 4. Genesis 1, 1 through 5. Now, what we got here is the word Torah, starting with this Tav. Every 50th letter spells out the Torah. It spells out Torah. And if you do a Google search on equidistant sequencing codes, you're going to find more articles that say this stuff is fake. It doesn't work. But they never show how they've duplicated it in, let's say, Shakespeare's writings, the Iliad. And the really strange part about this is I have the scientific study that they use computers to confirm, and the names of hundreds of rabbis and the year they died is actually embedded in the Old Testament. The names of hundreds of rabbis and the year they died is embedded in the Old Testament. in the Hebrew text. Now, I want to make it clear that I'm not into trying to predict the future with this stuff, and there's a whole lot of people that are. I don't believe that's possible because there's too many variables when it comes to future events. All right, that's the equidistant sequencing. Now this one is out of the book of Revelation, verse 13:5. Power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. Now, this is one example of why I am positive Nazi Germany was the first beast of Revelation 13. Nazi Germany fulfilled every sentence of the first beast of Revelation 13. And I'm going to show you what this 40 and 2 months is. A lunar month is 29.530588 days. Now, you multiply that times 42, and this is how long somebody is going to continue and have power at 1,240 days and roughly 8 hours. Now, on 7 December 1941, Japan bombed Pearl Harbor. America declared war on Japan. 8 December 1941, Hitler orders his navy to attack American shipping. That is the key right there. Hitler declared war on America. And then 30 April 1945, Hitler kills himself, is what they tell us. Now, here's my supporting passages, Daniel 2, 44 and 5, and I am convinced America is the stone that was cut out of the mountain without human hands. So, you add up the days, you throw your leap year in, you add up 365 times 3, 7 December is 24 days to 31 December 1941. And then you add 120 days for 1 January through 30 April. And you come up with 1,240 days is how long Hitler lived after he ordered his naval fleet to attack American shipping. Another really strange part about Bible prophecy is us Christians, we tend to think that the 7-year tribulation period is going to be for us. Well, in 9 and 10 November 1938, the Germans started burning the synagogues. And exactly 7 years and 12 days later, the Nuremberg laws, Nuremberg trials started. And I believe that is the time of Jacob's trouble right there. It was a 7-year period. Hitler continued for exactly 40 and 2 months. Now, this is the most fascinating thing I've ever seen in my life. This is so awesome. We've got multiple things going on here again. This is my diagram of the tabernacle in the wilderness. And because of what's contained in the tabernacle, I do not believe that the Hebrews should have ever built a temple. Now, each pole is 20 cubits apart, and it's the fence that goes around the actual structure of the tabernacle. The Holy of Holies contained the Ark of the Covenant, and the holy place has the showbread and the menorah. So basically, I believe the priest would stand someplace in front of the tabernacle, and the gate, which is 30 cubits, was facing east. And on summer solstice, the sun would hit this pole, the north pole of the gate, and on the winter solstice, the sun would hit the southern pole of the gate. And in the spring and fall equinox, I believe they had a hole in the flap, and the sun would rise, and when it filled that hole perfectly, they knew that it was the spring equinox, and in a few months we would start planting our crops. Now, each pole, I believe, they picked for certain stars. And when a star hit that pole at the exact spot it was supposed to hit it at, they knew they were able to determine the sidereal year. Now, this whole thing about the 30 cubit gate, this represents the solar year, and with certain stars pegged on certain poles, they were able to track the sidereal year. And then, with each pole, they were able to track the moon coming up and around and over, and so they could track the lunar year as well of 354.3670 367,056 days per year. So what we have here in the tabernacle in the wilderness is a literal sophisticated observatory, extremely sophisticated. This is 10 times better than the Mayan calendar, and it even includes the 1320s or the 260 to bring the calendar back up to the perfect state every 100 years or so. Now, what we also have here is Dan, which means judgment, judge to rule. Asher means happy, set, and straight. Naphtali means my wrestlings to twine. These three tribes were on the northern side of the tabernacle. Judah celebrated with hands, Issachar remembered, and Zebulon is habitation. They were on the east side of the tabernacle. And Reuben, see a son, Simeon, hearing, and Gad to crowd and attack. They were on the southern side of the tabernacle. And Ephraim, double fruit, Manasseh, causing to forget, and Benjamin, the right-hand man, they were on the west side of the tabernacle. Now, as you can guess, we have another hidden message contained in the names of the 12 tribes as they were laid out in around the tabernacle of the wilderness. All right, here it is. In the house is celebrations and rewards. The homes, the head of the home, the ruler is set and happy with the results and outcomes of his toil and wrestlings. The head of the houses, the son, will crowd, attack, so everyone will see and hear him. See, again, we've got the son opening up eyes and ears. The son, the ruler's right-hand man, brings a double blessing, causing his people to forget what's behind what's behind, which is the west. Now, that represents Egypt. It was behind them. The double blessing, if you remember Elisha, he wouldn't leave Elijah alone until he got a double blessing. And we have another prophecy of the Messiah, who's going to open the eyes and ears of people, and everyone's going to see. All right, that's the tabernacle. Now, Moses was given the design for the tabernacle. He did not claim to have thought it up himself. Exodus 25:9, according to all that I show thee, after the pattern of the tabernacle, and the pattern of all the instruments thereof, even so shall ye make it. Now, that's a pretty important statement. All right, this one is pretty complicated. I've calculated all the way back to day 1 of creation, 5 July 9821 BC. At the end of day 4 of creation, Nibiru came back around, and you know, I'm using the word Nibiru because that's what everybody wants to hear. Nibiru is going to destroy the earth. Well, at the end of day 4, Nibiru came back through, and on 29 April, these could be 2-3 days off, 29 April 5940 BC was the end of day 4 of creation, and the sun, moon, and stars were set in place because Nibiru was on its way back out of the inner solar system. Now, what we have is, we're being told Nibiru comes around every 3,600 years, and that puts us between day 1 and day 2 of creation. And so Nibiru, it left, and the sun, moon, and stars are now set in their proper orbit. And so now we come back here to the end of day 4. My arrow's wrong. And I've also got something wrong here with my dates. I'm going to have to check that out. All right, right there, 14 February 69:10. Okay, that's the beginning right there. That arrow is correct. Right here, I didn't include when Nibiru came back around, which was 29 April 5940. So you add 3,600 years, and it brings us up to 1 January 2445 BC, which is Noah's flood. 3,600 years, starting at the end of day 4 of creation. Now, I've got Adam's creation at 6 May 4052 BC, and 25 September 4000 BC, Adam and Eve disobeyed Hashem, and they were booted out of the Garden of Eden. Now, okay, so we're gonna stop here with 1 January 2445 BC with Noah's flood, and we're gonna, okay, now we're back here on the third chart, and 3,600 years would have put Nibiru coming back around at 1150 AD, which would be 950 years ago, and it did not come around. Now, when we get to the last thing in this here display, there's something that is so awesome with Nibiru should have been back through 950 years ago, and it wasn't. And we're going to explain why it did not come back through. Now, every 1,630,000 and some days is a lunar cycle, and it's perfectly divisible by 7. The lunar cycle that we're in ends 30 November 2020 AD, so we've got 3.5 years, less than 3.5 years, and the lunar cycle we're in starts over with the third cycle. And I am absolutely not saying Jesus is coming back on 30 November 2020. I am saying I do believe the world governments are trying to get something accomplished by that date. Alrighty. Now, this is Noah's flood. I laid Noah's flood out in the pattern exactly the way it says in Genesis 6 through chapter 9, and I invite you to do the same. When it says 2nd month, 17th day, the fountains of the deep and the heavens opened, well, 7 days prior, Noah and the family entered into the ark. It rained for 40 days, and that brings us to the third month, 26th day. Now see, we've got calendar pegs given throughout the whole thing that we can actually figure out 100% when Noah's flood actually happened. The 11th month, 11th day, the raven came back, 11th month, 18th day, the dove sent forth, 11th month, 25th day. See, all of these calendar pegs fit perfectly on the correct calendar. Now, the 2nd month, 27th day, Noah and the animals leave the ark, and it's 364 days. That's important to what we're talking about. Now, what I did, what I've got here is a 30-day first month lunar calendar, and then a 29-day second month, and then the third month would be a 30-day, and the fourth month would be a 29-day, and so it'd be a 30, 29, 30, 29, 30, 29 for 12 months. This is what Judaism tells us the Jewish calendar is based on: a 30-day month, 29-day month, with a 30-day month first. I simply put the right here on the 2nd month, 17th day, we have 1 January 2445 BC. The way I put the red stuff, 25 December, is 2446 BC is the day Noah entered the ark. and then we come back up here, and this should be the first day of the lunar year, 17 November, but it's 1 day off. That's key to what I'm trying to say. Now, here's the 29th day, the 14th month of the lunar calendar, and down on the second month, 27th day, as Noah and his family leave the ark, and it's 368 days. Now, if we reverse this and give the first month a 29-day first month, all of a sudden, the first day of the year for a lunar year is 17 November on the first day, 2446 BC. Again, we've got the fountains of the deep being broken up on the day 17, and this is when Noah's flood began, second month, 17th day. Now, if we back this up, let's just do that for kicks and giggles. 17, 16, 15, 14, 1 January, so 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. All right, I didn't do that like on the other one, but so there's our connection to Christmas with Noah and the family entering the ark. I don't know that I like that, but there it is. The 25th of December on the Gregorian calendar is when Noah and the family entered the ark. I just saw that myself. Now, on the 30th day of the 14th, the 30-day month, on the 14th month of the lunar calendar, Noah and his family, they leave the ark, and it's a 364-day period. Now, what I'm asking you to do is get your spreadsheet out and make yourself blank calendars like I did, and it's time consuming, but if I did it, you can do it, and then simply lay out Noah's flood exactly the way it says, and then put the days given into the proper calendar spots for both the 30-day first month and the 29-day first month calendars. And you will see that one system does not work. Now, this is a little trickier, and what I've tried to do is determine whether the new moon for the Jewish feasts, the Hebrew feasts, is a full moon, a new moon, the first sliver. Okay, that's what this is all about right here. I've tried to determine when the new moon begins. Now, 1 January 2445 BC, it fell on a Monday, and it was a full moon. Now, that was the second day, the second month, the 17th day of the month. Now, the next one is November 2446 BC, and this is where it falls on 17 November. See, if we go back up, 17 November 2446 BC, it was 45 days. You got to count backwards. Now, so right here is where the 1 day before the new moon, and so is it possible that they were looking for the last sliver to call that the start of the new month? I don't think it was, and I think that it was either a new moon, the black moon, or it was like the Jews do today. They were looking for the sliver. And the reason I say this is because when Nibiru came through, I believe it quite possibly pulled the moon a little further from the earth, which changed the dynamics of this whole sliver thing after Noah's flood was over. All right. Now, I am trying to explain all this stuff, and basically what I'm trying to explain is there's hidden codes throughout the whole Old Testament. Now, right here, Genesis 1:1, I've concentrated a whole lot on a calendar system and astronomy, but Genesis 1:1 has 7 words and it's got 28 letters. So again, we have 13. Let's go back up here. Now, right here, this is the mechanical calendar system that Moses gave to the Hebrews. It's a 7-day week. It's got 13 28-day months per year, and it's a 364-day base year. Every 6th year gets an extra week. Every 150 years gets a 14-day 14th month. I've got that wrong there. It's 14th month. Every 150 years, and there are 30 300-year periods. The 7th day cycle goes back to day 1 of day 5 of creation. It actually goes to the last day of day 4 of creation is when the 7th day cycle can be tracked all the way back to without it being broken. So let's go back to our. All right. So we've got 28 letters, 28 days in a month, a 7-day week, and it gives us 4 weeks per month. The next one is Jeremiah 52, 52 weeks in a year, 30, 52, 30. Now, I don't believe Jeremiah did this with the chapter and verse thing. That came later. And what I believe when the Jews and the scribes did this, they were making it clear, here's a key for you to look for something important. Now, in the 3 and 20th year of Nebuchadnezzar, Adon, the captain of the guard carried away captive of the Jews 745 persons. All the persons were 4,600. 4,600 and 745. Those all represent a year. I've just given you the key to how I figured out the 9,000-year calendar system. And trust me, it won't work when you just try it with a 12-digit calculator. You'll be off, and I'm telling you, I figured it out. You can. So the whole Old Testament has been encoded. Now, this is the closest example that I have found the way I see Nibiru coming through and creating trouble for the whole solar system. Now, I believe Nibiru comes through from the north, based on Job 26:7. He stretcheth out the north over the empty place, and hangeth the earth upon nothing. All right, these people have Nibiru coming to Zeta Reticula in the south. So that's no biggie. But basically, when Nibiru came through, it grabbed the Earth's ocean, and for 150 days it pulled the water above the single continent, and it tidally locked the Earth in place with Nibiru as it continued orbiting around the sun. And then 150 days back out, which leaves almost a full orbit and 65 days left for the Earth to finish a year. And so Nibiru comes in, grabs the Earth's ocean with gravity, pulls it up like the tide, and then it comes through for 150 days, the waters rise, and then for 150 days the waters fall back to their normal place. I also believe that when it passed by Mars, it pulled half of Mars's atmosphere off and destroyed whatever was there. It just all life died. I believe that it tipped Venus upside down, which is why Venus orbits backwards. And that is roughly... Oh, yes, and as Nibiru went back out of the inner solar system, it struck the 9th planet that was between Earth and Jupiter, Mars and Jupiter. There was a 9th planet between Mars and Jupiter, and Nibiru hit it. And that's what created the asteroid belt. All right? And this is why Nibiru did not come back through in 1150 AD. Now, when I said there's something really awesome about what happened when Nibiru came through, we're getting to that. All right, so now Nibiru hits the planet between Mars and Jupiter, creates the asteroid belt, and it's never coming back. And let's see. Let's go to... All right, these are charts that I laid out. These are the actual way that my astronomy software says the solar system was laid out as Nibiru came through. Now, why did people build the megalithic structures? Every time Nibiru came through, it messed everything up. And so, after Nibiru had gone back out of the solar system, these megalithic structures were needed to watch the planets, stars, and moons. Planets, stars, and, let's see, where? Right there. Okay. Right here. So, Moses, basically, every civilization went straight into rebuilding massive temples, so that when their people were looking at, say, Mars was supposed to be on this specific pole, and for whatever reason it was half a degree off. Well, everybody watching it knew they may only have a year and a half left, and the Earth is going to be destroyed again. Let's say Jupiter was supposed to be on this pole, and it was a degree off. That means something came through, and they may have 30 years before the Earth is destroyed by a flood again, because Nibiru's coming back through. So, it's my theory that civilizations were building these massive observatories, and the sun, I believe it rises in the solstices, and it sits in this square window every winter and summer solstice. This temple's actually pretty cool, Chichen Itza. The sun hits these on the equinoxes, and it causes a stepped appearance to fall down this wall. It's really pretty cool. Now, this is the key, Genesis 9:11. And I will establish my covenant with you, neither shall all flesh be cut off any more by the waters of a flood, neither shall there any more be a flood to destroy the earth. All right, now, where is my, let's see, right there. 1150 AD, Nibiru was supposed to come back through, and it didn't, because it is now part of the asteroid belt. And so Hashem, the creator of heaven and earth, said, I'll never destroy the earth again in Genesis 9:11, and that's because Nibiru is never coming back through. Now, the law of first mention, Genesis 3:15, and I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. The law of first mention, there is so much contained in this verse. Now, we have the virgin birth contained in Genesis 3:15. Most Christians tend to believe that Isaiah came up with it when he said, behold, a virgin shall be with birth. Well, no. He got that from Genesis 3:15. And that's what the law of first mention is. And this goes for Christianity as well. The Torah, if the prophecies and the foundations are not found in the Torah for anything that Judaism, Christianity, Messianic Judaism, Catholicism, if it's not in the Torah, then it's not sound, and it's not a sound practice or doctrine or theology. Now, I will put enmity. Now, what's going on in Genesis 3:15 is the serpent is being judged, and so basically, I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Now, what we've got is the virgin birth. Men are the ones that have seed. So, between thy seed and her seed, women don't have seed. So we've got the first reference to the virgin birth. Now, it shall bruise thy head. Okay, the woman's seed is going to bruise the serpent's children's head. And the serpent's children are going to bruise the the woman, the child of the woman, they're going to bruise his heel. So what we've got here is a reference to the Messiah, and Satan's children are going to crucify him. This is the first reference to the Messiah being injured, but by crushing or bruising the children of the serpent's head, this means the Messiah is going to defeat the serpent. So we have a whole lot contained in Genesis 3:15. All right, and that's what I'm trying to get at here is the law of first mention. It's got to be in the Torah, or we don't want to hold to it. Now, the Schoolmaster Torah Scroll. All right, what I did is I studied the Rambam's 613 Laws of Moses, and I came up with the Schoolmaster/Torah Scroll. Now, if you go to www.ican'tfindgod.com, www.ican'tfindgod.com, and look in the right column, there's a video there that explains the Schoolmaster and Torah Scroll thoroughly. And basically, the Rambam, his name was Moshe Maimonides, and he lived in the 11th century at the exact same time Nibiru was supposed to come back through. So when destruction was supposed to be tearing the earth apart, this guy was laying out the most awesome Bible study in human history, the 613 Laws of Moses. All of Christianity tends to think that Moses of the Exodus is the one that laid out the 613 Laws of Moses. Moses of the Exodus had nothing to do with Moshe Maimon's work 950 years ago. Now, the Schoolmaster and Torah Scroll Bible Study, it's got nothing to do with the Talmud, the Kabbalah, my theology, Kenneth Copeland's theology. They're blank journals, and you are supposed to study the Bible with those blank journals on your own. I've categorized the Bible into roughly 350 categories, and based on the law of first mention, you tear that Bible apart yourself and categorize it correctly. Now, Moshe Maimon, he did the most awesome Bible study ever. When you do the Torah Scroll Bible Study or the Schoolmaster Bible Study, they're the same thing with just Christian words or Hebrew type words. When you do it, you will come up with the second best Bible study in human history because you did it. Now, if there's any arguments, I want to debate. Bring it on. If I'm wrong, I want to be corrected. And if I'm right and you think I'm wrong, we'll debate it out and we'll get it right. Now, I have a challenge for those that want to challenge me and prove that they know the Bible better than me. That's fine. Let's do something that's worth doing. My challenge is, I want those that want to challenge me to use the Bible, and I want them to lay out how they think the Bible tells us how to restore the family. The family has been destroyed 100%, and we have to restore the family, lest the Messiah come and smite the earth with a curse. We have to return the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the hearts of the children to the Father. So, basically, I want you to study the Bible, and whether I did it right or not, there is more than enough in this Bible workshop to show you that it's worth your time to study the Bible the way I'm suggesting. And this is Stanley Bloomfield, and I'm going to sign out now. And if you want to contact me, you can do that at Michiganians@centralmichiganconnected.com. That email is on the contact page at www.ican'tfindgod.com. I think I'll leave my phone number off. And All right, I thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward to your input on how awesome the Bible is. All right.